First Community Bank, the bank behind your business.
Follow News 1226 on Twitter to keep informed with the latest happening near you.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
A day after the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial, conversations shift to police reform. But how does real change happen? We're going to hear from local law enforcement and activists about what they think.
Plus, as the vaccine rollout starts to lose its steam, health leaders have another strategy up their sleeve. Their new plan to get more shots into arms.
But first up this evening, Richmond County moving forward with a rezoning plan for the 2021 school year.
The changes affect thousands of kids in 6 different schools across the county. News 12's Wrdw is live for us on your side tonight, breaking down those plans and the reasoning behind them.
I spoke with the district today, and they say it's like fitting together moving puzzle pieces. This process is to help even out the population in our overcrowded schools, and some parents say it's needed to make sure schools are getting the proper resources out there. To put it simply, right sizing is this for some parents.
You're moving around some things to make things better.
Just last night, the Richmond County School Board approved the new right sizing plan that affects 6 schools. The goal? Even out school populations, staff allocation, and to help transportation services.
I think it's a good thing, but I know with the pandemic, it's even more an important thing. It's just making sure that when we move these students, that the resources go with them.
Jessica Wells is a parent. She says this gives students equal access to resources.
And if we have overcrowded schools, you have less staff to help and pay attention to those things, because the more students you have, the less you can do one-on-one with students. So maybe I see that as a positive step.
The plan is this. They want to take students from Haynes Elementary and those from Wheelus Road who would normally go to Murphy Middle School and send them to Richmond Hill instead. This would help reduce Murphy's capacity by 28%. They also plan to move 2 neighborhood clusters from Diamond Lakes Elementary to Willis Foreman, reducing capacity at Diamond Lakes by 20%. And right-sizing is something the district evaluated every year since 2008.
There's always, in the past, there's always been people being vocal, at least a few, and I haven't really heard too many.
The board also pushed forward the plan to move C.T. Walker Magnet School from K-8 to K-5, making families choose a different magnet school, and that will be determined at a later meeting. In Richmond County, schools say that this plan is set to start in the fall at the beginning of this coming school year. The families that are affected will receive a letter in the mail during the first week of May. Parents, you can request to stay at your current school, but transportation will not be offered to you by the school system.
Well, thanks very much for that. Let's have a look outside now. We're keeping a close eye on some smoke off in the distance there. This is in the Aiken area, where we're learning more about a fire near the Trolley Run subdivision. In the last few minutes, the Sheriff's Office confirming to us no one has been injured, no homes were damaged there. But on a day like today, fire's a big concern with all that wind. The call came in about just a couple of hours ago, right around 2:30. A witness telling us part of the neighborhood was evacuated for a while as crews worked to put those flames out. So it's something we're going to keep a close eye on as we check in with First Alert Chief Meteorologist Riley Hale. Riley, just how windy is it out there?
It's very windy coming up in your First Alert forecast.
A calm scene in Minneapolis today, where yesterday a jury found former police officer Derek Chauvin guilty in the murder of George Floyd. So you can see people gathering, bringing flowers to the site of Floyd's memorial.
As the verdict sinks in, you've probably seen something posted on social media around the country. How does real change happen?
That's the question. Where do we really go from here? And tonight, local law enforcement and activists are weighing in on that and what it can mean for police and community relationships right here at home. Our News 12's Nick Proto live from Washington Road, where we saw our biggest local protests surrounding this case. And Nick, you talked to people today who were a part of those demonstrations nearly a year ago. So what are they saying about this verdict?
Well, they've got mixed feelings. Last summer, protesters marched down this road here behind me. This was the first of many protests we saw in the CSRA, certainly the biggest. I spoke with them today, and they said there was a division between the community and the police. They say the Derek Chauvin verdict held him accountable, and that's a good first step towards rebuilding that relationship.
It gives us hope, but there's still so far to go.
Q McQueen has been a leading voice in the Black Lives Matter movement since last summer. He says watching the Derek Chauvin verdict brought a feeling of relief, but other waves of emotions quickly rolled in.
I was upset because it's such a small victory. We went through so much. We had a whole summer. We had people in the streets, and we have 9 minutes of video about this, and it still could have gone either way.
He says it's a step in the right direction, and now local law enforcement needs to break down the barrier with the community. Lieutenant Jennifer Hayes with the Aiken Department of Public Safety says that's something their department prides itself on.
Put effort behind the words of we want to know what the community thinks. We want to listen. So we've made a more concerted effort to listen to what they have to tell us.
Hayes says they haven't made any major changes to community outreach. The department already has events like Chat with Chief, Coffee with a Cop, and a Citizens Academy to get the community familiar with their officers. Their goal is keeping the focus on maintaining a strong relationship with those they protect and serve.
Continue to listen. Continue to make that concerted effort to make ourselves available to the public so that we can understand their needs and help better meet those.
I asked Lieutenant Hayes if they had made any major policy changes since George Floyd's death. She says it's always been a spoken rule, but they put into writing any officer that sees misconduct by any other officer now has that responsibility, that duty to intervene. I asked Richmond and Columbia counties the same question. They didn't respond. Aiken County chose not to comment on the subject.
Nick, those other officers in the Chauvin trial go on trial later this summer, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with them in court. Thanks very much for the live update there along Washington Road. Also this evening, an Augusta man behind bars tonight charged with hurting a 1-year-old boy, reportedly receiving treatment for a burn to a leg and bleeding on the brain. Richmond County deputies say 21-year-old Michael Hampton charged with first-degree cruelty to children. He's accused of grabbing the 1-year-old, causing his neck to snap backward, burning him on the leg with a lighter. We're told the child is being treated at the ICU at AUMC. Hampton is being held now in the Richmond County Detention Center. The word is out on the final candidate for Augusta's new fire chief. Candidate Antonio Burden named today as the sole finalist. The job is his. Our I-Team's Laura Warren taking a closer look at his background and his qualifications. Laura, what do we know?
Well, the vote hasn't been put to the full commission quite yet, and this is not completely final, but he is the last guy standing. But we did find out a little bit more about the former Marine. Got a copy of his resume. He describes himself as insightful, results-driven, and knowledgeable. 30 years of experience under his belt. He's been with DeKalb County Fire Rescue since 1994, and he worked his way up, becoming a fire battalion chief and a fire marshal. Now he's a deputy fire chief there, and his office oversees quite a bit. The fire marshal's office, which handles fire investigations and inspections. His division also oversees HR, internal affairs, and a whole lot more for the fire department as a whole. But a couple of accomplishments that caught my attention: he created a fire fee program that he says generated millions in revenue for the county. He also worked with the school district to put in a fire protection plan for carbon monoxide systems. But we also found an investigation by WSB in Atlanta that centered around Burden's time as fire marshal. One of his fire inspectors under him noted some serious violations at several schools that were operating out of churches. The fire investigator said the fixes should be immediate. Well, long story short, Burden says he told that inspector to hold off on closing them down. So Burden's boss eventually launched an internal investigation into all this. Now, I did call Chief Burden a little earlier to speak with him about all of this. He says he is extremely excited about the finalist news, as you can imagine, but he did stop there and said he did not want to say anything more until he heard from the city administrator. So we will keep you posted on all of this.
Laura, thanks for the update there. In the beginning, it was hard to find a COVID vaccine shot if you wanted to get one. Now local hospitals and health leaders have the opposite problem. Too many appointments, not enough people waiting in line to get the vaccine. News 12's Brady Trappel shows us how they're trying to appeal to new groups of people and what slowing down vaccinations might mean for our area moving forward.
About 25 people walked into the new DFAX facility here today to get their first vaccination. And although it's a small number, DPH says it accomplished what they hoped.
This isn't your typical vaccine clinic, but that's on purpose.
We still see a need to go to folks who are not coming to us, hard to reach populations.
So Susan Beckham and her team with the local Department of Public Health turned the old Southside Elementary into a walk-in vaccine clinic. Several people I spoke with said they either walked here or drove over from a nearby neighborhood.
At first, I was kind of, apprehensive.
Kevin Hutchinson says he planned to get a COVID-19 shot through his primary care doctor.
I do feel comfortable with my primary care because that's who's been treating me for the last 8 years.
But this made it easy, and he didn't want to wait any longer.
We see across all of our counties right now that we have the open, unfilled appointments.
They used to give about 750 to 800 shots a day at their main site, recently crossing 37,000 total vaccinations. but yesterday it was down to 500. Now each walk-in clinic is a chance to reach someone who would have never come out otherwise.
It's a collaborative effort. It takes all of us. It takes a lot of effort to get needles in that many arms. So we will keep going until we get there.
DPH says they plan to do another walk-in clinic in Augusta tomorrow, and they hope to do many more of these in the coming weeks to make it easier for everyone and anyone to get their first vaccination. Reporting in Augusta, Brady Troutnell on your side.
And the walk-in clinic Brady just mentioned will be at SG Noble Apartments on Magnolia Avenue. Tomorrow you can show up anytime from 9 in the morning until 11 in the morning. Here's a look at some other opportunities to get a vaccine. AU Health holding 2 clinics over the next couple of days. One tomorrow on the Georgia side of the Washington Square site there. The other in South Carolina Friday in Aiken Tech. To sign up for an appointment, just head over to augustahealth.org.
While vaccine demand slows down, demand for coronavirus testing is also down. Today, Augusta University announced it is cutting back the hours for their testing site on 15th Street. Starting next week, the site will be open 9 a.m. to noon Monday through Friday, then again from 7 a.m. to noon Saturdays and Sundays. AU says the change will free up some of their staff to move toward vaccination efforts. Better internet access in our rural counties. That's the goal. Over the next several weeks, the Georgia Cyber Center will be doing some research, running some tests out in Taliaferro County to figure out exactly what kind of technology works best there. And here's a look at some of that testing so far. Getting started out there today, researchers taking a look at things like trees, terrain, and temperature. Once the research is done, the Cyber Center says it'll start working on plans to deliver broadband to unserved and underserved areas all across the state.
And that is a good thing indeed. Well, graduation, a huge accomplishment for any high schooler, but when you didn't miss a single day of class along the way, that is really impressive.
That is a huge item you can use on your resume forever. Every employer wants somebody with perfect attendance.
Like
but
clockwork.
India Coleman is a senior in Richmond County. She's graduating next month with that perfect attendance record. So News 12's Tradisha Woodard caught up with her about how she did it and her big plans for the future.
Monday through Friday. From kindergarten through 12th grade.
Just going to classes, just getting my work done.
From in-person to virtual learning.
I have all A's right now, so.
17-year-old India Coleman will not only be celebrating graduating high school with honors, but also having a perfect record of attendance since kindergarten.
I'm very determined and outgoing. I'm not very outspoken, but I do have a lot of potential, and when I put my mind to things, I choose to reach my goals.
She says the people she loves the most keeps her going, like her younger sister.
I always want to make sure that I'm being a good example for her.
Or even the dedication of her parents.
Getting up every morning, my parents just pretty much like encouraged me. You know, they were going to work every day, so it just made sense for me to go to school every day.
So far, India has received 16 different acceptance letters from colleges. She hasn't made a final decision just yet, but as she prepares to turn her tassel to the other side of the cap, she's already challenging herself to stay motivated, and she's hoping to continue her perfect record of attendance throughout college.
Keep pushing and keep striving.
Tradisha Woodard on your side.
I think India's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
She's graduating May the 27th, heading off to college somewhere in the fall. Plans to major in biology, but, you know, I think the parents should share a little bit of that accomplishment. Good for all of them.
That's true. It took a village to make that happen, but you know what? That is not an easy thing to do.
Solid performance right there. Well done.
All right, we do have red flag warnings continue.
There are hidden treasures at Fort Gordon looking for a new home, and here's a look inside what used to be the U.S. Army Signal Corps Museum. It was full of communication tools, electronics dating back 160 years. The most notable, a phone found when Hitler was found dead in 1945, and there's also a chunk of the Berlin Wall.
This is so cool. This stuff just kind of hidden right under our noses. I had no idea this was out there, but the Fort Gordon Historical Museum Society says the post is growing. There's no longer room for this museum out there, so a lot of the artifacts belong to Fort Gordon specifically, which is why they're really trying to keep them in Augusta if they can.
These artifacts really, they're military specific, but they're also Fort Gordon specific, so we're trying to really keep them in the area. And the benefit also, if we get to move them off post, is the community at large will have much more access to them than when it was on Fort Gordon.
So, a piece of our history they are trying to preserve, and the Museum Society says They do already have their eye on a new building right outside of Gate 1 to move the artifacts to, but they do still need the community's help raising awareness and, of course, money to make it happen. So we have some info on how you can get involved, or if you'd like to contribute online or on the WRDW app. Just search for Gordon.
Sure, the Signal Corps has such a great history, and there it is, all in one spot. We'd love to keep it here in Augusta. We have a heads up for drivers along Washington Road. Major road work is getting ready to begin this weekend. Here it is, starting Sunday night. Drivers can expect moving lane closures from the Columbia County line over to Lakewood Drive. $2.5 million job resurfacing almost 4 miles of Washington Road. Those bumps and potholes, they're about to go away. Work hours are going to be every night from 8 in the evening until 6 the next morning. The goal is to be all wrapped up by the beginning of July. Fresh asphalt. We love that when that happens. All right, let's have a look outside now. The Bobby Jones Expressway. Pardon the camera shaking, but you know what? It is that windy out there, Riley.
It is.
Election Day coming up Tuesday the 27th.
The celebrations live on in Richmond County. Check out these specially made videos from the school district recognizing all of our local high school basketball state champs. Josie High School, the Lady Eagles, and both Cross Creek Razorback and Ladybacks all taking home their titles for their divisions back in March. The videos shown during last night's board meeting where each coach got to talk about their team, their season. Amazing time. If you want to watch the full videos, we're going to post them to our website and the app. And again, congratulations to all these state champs. All in Augusta. Well, just ahead in sports, South Carolina football fans expect